Hey Epic 7 fans, welcome to a Raikuzin Games video. In today's episode, we're going to look at Sage, Baal and Sezan. So this unit has the potential to destroy the meta as we know it between the mid to the high arena levels. The reason is his kit is just so good for countering a lot of speed teams and tank teams, which is the most popular played metas at the moment. So we'll get right into that, and at the end of the video we'll talk about what artifacts you could probably run with it. But also keep in mind that our saving grace in terms of him changing the meta is that he is a ML Nat 5, which makes it hard to get, which means not everyone will have it. But in saying that, if you look around, there are a lot of MLRs floating around, so I might be wrong. Maybe the community is just really lucky, or maybe everyone's just summoning like crazy. But regardless, let's get into the video and check him out. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about his skill set first and then his artifacts last. With his skill sets, we're going to go through skill 1, 3, and then 2. And the reason for that is they're both closely related, but it'll paint a better picture if we talk about skill 3 first, yeah? So skill 1 has a 50% chance to put the enemy to sleep for 1 turn. So also keep in mind that Sage Baal is an ML unit, which means he doesn't have an elemental disadvantage. Everything is either neutral or he's advantageous against light units, which means there's no reduction in chances or effective resistance check. Yeah, so this is very good. In this game, sleep is actually a very solid debuff. The reason is 1, it's a soft control, stun being the hard control, and 2, all the hits that the sleeping unit receives is in the form of a crit. So both of these points are very, very relevant. With soft controls, you can decide if you want to wake them up or not. If you want them to skip their heal that's about to come, if you want for them to skip the buff that's about to come, or the nuke that's about to nuke one of your units down, you can choose not to wake them up. But if you do choose to wake them up, it's going to be a crit, which means any unit on your team that hits hard, I would probably choose that to attack with. And keep in mind, if you are playing nukers or bruisers, most likely your stats will be spread out between things like crit damage, attack, speed for the glass cannons, and if you're a bruiser, it might be like HP, crit damage, crit rate. And because of that factor, a lot of people might be playing crit damage on neck, which means all of the crit chance is coming from subs. So a lot of people play around the 70% mark or higher. So there's always that 30% or whatever the difference is that you will miss your crit. Whereas sleep, everything is going to crit, which means it lowers the chance of you being inconsistent. So the next one we're going to talk about is skill 3. Eye of Death attacks, and if he defeats the enemy, he heals for full health. Damage dealt increases proportion to the amount of health he's lost. So I do hear that the scaling is pretty good on this unit, especially when he's lost health. But the biggest question with Baal, and the fact that's going to determine whether he's going to be amazing or not, is actually this skill in terms of his AI for this skill. And what I mean by that is, if his AI for this skill is to use it when it's ready, it's going to make Baal very underwhelming. Okay, you want this skill and his AI to use it when it's like crowd situation, when there's a certain HP threshold that it reaches, then he will use it. This would make Baal extremely good, but if he uses this just because the skill is ready, it's going to make this unit very underwhelming, and I'll explain why. So skill 2 is actually what makes Sage, Baal and Sezan the unit that is going to be just absolutely monster. So at normal, attacks all enemies by summoning storms, 85% chance to dispel 2 buffs on the enemy, and 65% chance to put them to sleep. If this skill is available, increases the caster's combat readiness by 15% at the end of the enemy's turn, which means at the end of each of the enemy units' turn. That is quite amazing. It's actually got two parts, right? The first section with the strip and the sleep, and the second section is basically a passive skill within a skill. It's like skillception. If you max skill it though, it becomes 100% chance to dispel and 85% chance to strip, and the combat readiness becomes 25% per enemy end turn. So basically, you want the AI to use this skill when it's ready. You do not want him to use his third skill straight up. You want the second skill instead, yeah? And let me explain why. Within mid to high level arena, there's 2 very popular metas. You've got the speed meta and the tank meta. For the tanky defenses running DN and Crimson Armin, Baal is gonna leave them completely naked. So they both provide 2 buffs, and he has the ability to strip 2 buffs from the entire team and puts them to sleep. The problem is, the higher in arena you go, the higher the resistance that these pro players use. So with the strip or the dispel, there is a check for accuracy and resistance, and same for the sleeping factor. So there's actually 2 triggers that happen, one for the dispel and one for the sleep. And because they're playing super high resistance, there's a chance that you might miss both. But this is where Sage Baal becomes insane, right? It becomes insane against speed teams. So if you think about the recipe or the template for a speed team, it's their CR booster goes first, yeah? They're probably playing like 200 to 250, anywhere between their CR boosters. Then the second unit that goes is probably a buffer, probably an attack buffer. And the third is probably a defense breaker, and the last one is probably going to be their AoE nuker. So that's kind of like a default team, you know, they probably tweak 1 or 2 parts here and there. But if you take that template, and then if you think about what Sage Baal does, you'll start to understand why he wrecks the teams like this. So firstly, his base speed is 115 speed. This makes him one of the fastest units, even like the fastest mage, I think. You know, it makes it easier for you to build him really fast. And the second thing is, remember his skill 2. When skill 2 is available, which means you haven't used it yet or off cooldown, he gets up to 25% CR boost. You build him really fast, and he has a high base speed. I'm going to give you 3 scenarios where Baal is going to wreck these default generic speed teams. Okay, scenario 1. Their CR booster is going to go first. If you build your Baal fast enough, he's going to cut in between that, because he's going to get a 25% CR boost at the end of that first unit's turn. Then he's going to apply second skill on everyone, strip, sleep. And that's pretty much game from that, right? Scenario 2. Let's say your Baal isn't as fast as that. So their CR booster goes first, their attack buffer goes second. Now he's got 50% CR boost from the 2 enemies that ended their turn. Now he's gonna strip that attack buff away and put them to sleep. Now, worst comes to worst, your Baal is really slow for what he's meant to do. So again, same thing. First unit goes CR boost, second unit goes attack buff, third unit goes defense break on your team. Baal just got a 75% CR boost. He should be fast enough to cut in between right before their nuker goes off, puts them to sleep, strips all the buff away, and keep your team safe. So he's going to counter all these teams. And that's why I was saying earlier that his rating of how good he is going to be determined by the third skill. Because imagine he cuts in between all your CR boosters and your attack buffs. And imagine he uses third skill instead of second skill. That would be very, very underwhelming, and it would just nerf this unit by his AI and not even by his kit, and that would be so annoying. I would be so pissed off. So yes, whether he changes the meta or not is going to depend on the AI of his third skill. Okay, so let's get into the artifacts, yeah? So keep in mind that he is a mage. In my opinion, mages have one of the most useful artifact kits because there's so many things that you can do. The first one that comes to mind is Zero Ren. So he's already got a bunch of debuffs on him. He also has an AoE on him. Zero Ren is just going to add a little bit more to what's going on. The second one that comes to mind is Ayla Violin, just because I created a video recently. I'll leave the link in one of these corners here. So when you're playing a stripper, you want to make sure that the buffs come off. As I mentioned earlier, there's an accuracy versus resistance check with the strip, which means that if that strip is pivotal for you, that you must and need it and you must get it, having a second chance such as Ayla Violin is going to help you, because Ayla doesn't have the accuracy versus resistance check. At max level, it's just a straight up 80% check. So that would be very useful on this unit as well. Keep in mind that Ayla triggers at the end of the attack, so if you miss the strip on immunity, you're not going to apply the sleep. The other one that comes to mind is Abyssal Crown. So Abyssal Crown gives Baal the chance to proc a stun. I would definitely use Abyssal Crown as well, because the thing with speed teams is they are made to sync up and be in order. If you were to stun one of the pivotal units, let's say their attack buffer, the nuker's not going to do enough damage. Let's say you stun the nuker, that means all that setup is for nothing. Let's say you stun the defense breaker, that means again they might not deal enough damage. So stunning one of these units is going to break up their combo, and that might be the opening chance for you to put up your shields, your immunity, and just chip them away. And the final one that comes to my mind is Tagahal's Ancient Book. So max level, it comes in with 20 souls. This artifact is used to combo with a lot of nukers and things like that. So you can run Baal in these combo teams, and also keep in mind that his third skill also consumes 20 souls. So if you're into that, depending on how much this skill does damage, you might even do that, but I'd rather run it with, like, say Sez or something, and just, you know, consume 20 soul burn, and then use Sez's third skill. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Baal, Sage, Baal and Sezan. I think it's going to be crazy. Again, our saving grace is the fact that it's an ML Nat 5, which means a lot of people won't have it. But for you guys that are playing speed teams, this is definitely going to be a threat to you guys, and it's going to make it harder on offense attacking into this with a speed team, and harder on defense if you have a speed team defense and someone's attacking you with a Sage, Baal and Sezan. It's pretty much GG, like easy wins, yeah? So that brings us to the end of the video. Do me a favor, if I've missed anything critical, please leave it in the comments below, because I would be keen to know what that is. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so that you're not missing out on any of my new stuff that's about to be released. And that would be greatly appreciated by me, because I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, so these things do help me out. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.